Goblins are on the run from the onslaught of Seongwu and his minions. After killing them, Seongwu levels up to 6. This time he chooses a guaranteed strength boost card, which increases his strength by 3. Seongwu goes out where Jisoo just finished up killing 9 goblins. Seongwu asks Hanho to pack up the daggers, and he tells his teammates they are going to switch to hunting orcs because they give much more experience points and better rewards. They start finding clues for orcs, but instead find a few military vehicles with dead bodies of soldiers laying around, and it seems like they try to fight back using their field shovels. There is a surviving soldier, but he is a bit confused about the skeletons with Seongwoo's party. Someone clears his doubt about his minions. Soldier tells his Sergeant Kim about Seongwoo's party. Sergeant Kim is in a very bad situation. His leg is injured and he can't leave his vehicle. It turns out he was slashed by a little goblin, but he managed to beat the goblin somehow. Seongwoo inquires why the military is using shovels instead of their guns. Sergeant Kim replies that the guns no longer work. That is why the military is in this bad condition. Hanho asks Seongwoo if he can hand over the healing potion to the sergeant, but Seongwoo thinks giving away things for free is not a good choice. Sergeant Kim tells him that he has some information that he can exchange for the potion. He tells them about wolves, which were as big as bulls, and whole squads of military were wiped out by them. There are also 2 blue QR codes which Sergeant Kim saw. He tells them one of the QR codes is in the bus station and the other one is in the subway transfer center. If a player scans the QR codes, it will install an app on their phones. All other communications are down, and this app is the only way to communicate with other survivors. Seongwoo hands him the healing potion. Sergeant Kim tells them that he is going to rejoin with the main unit and he can take them with him, but Seongwoo thinks it will not be safe with them. Seongwoo gives them a last warning as a farewell gift. He tells them about the dragons which follow moving vehicles. Sergeant Kim and the soldier became more scared, but they thank Seongwoo for this crucial information. Both of the parties part ways. Seongwoo and his party reaches the bus station and they scan the QR code which installs the app on their phones. Seongwoo clicks on the official announcement and it is written that the game has officially launched today. In the first round of class selection, 2,967,821 people were chosen as players, and there are 1,341,122 players who are still alive. The second round of class card selection will take place in 3 days, and the writer of this message is looking forward to the humanity's performance in the next card selection round. Seongwoo opens the message board, but there is no post yet because it costs 1,000 gold to make a post, and it requires 100 gold just to comment on that post. Suddenly a post pops up. It turns out some players have reached level 8 and they are currently building a safe zone in H apartment complex in Hwasong City. H apartment is near Hanho's place. Seongwoo thinks that they need to head over there. Seongwoo is a bit skeptical about it because they have reached level 8 and Seongwoo is still on level 6. After Seongwoo and his friends start heading towards the H apartments, someone deletes the post and a new post pops up which says that someone posted that bullshit. That's why he deleted the post and he tells the readers to disregard their previous post. We see a glimpse of the writer of the post and it seems like he has long teeth just like a vampire. In the city, a father is trying to protect his daughter from the goblins using a baseball bat. He calls for help but there is no one around to help them. The goblins are about to attack the father and his daughter, but a flying knife hits the head of a goblin from behind. It turns out they are Seongwoo's minions and they finish the goblins with ease. Seongwoo tells them that he will take them safely to their house, but the father tells him that his house is close by and they came out to find food. Seongwoo shares some of his food with the survivors. There are 2 remaining goblins which run into the basement. This basement is a dungeon. Hanho asks Seongwoo if they need to chase the goblins inside the dungeon or not. The father tells them that they should not go down into that basement. A friend of his used to run a karaoke bar down there, and he heard there is something more terrifying than those green beasts lurking down there. Seongwoo thanks him for the tip and they enter the Elder Slime's shrine. They encounter some slimes and each slime gives 140 gold after being defeated. These slimes are corrosive and they dissolve the metal, but they can't melt bones, which makes Seongwoo's minions their natural predators. Suddenly, the boss Elder Slime appears behind them and it easily crushes one of Seongwoo's orc skeleton. Seongwoo pierces the slime boss with a basic bone spear. Seongwu can't summon skeletons because there are only bones around them, but he can create basic bone weapons with those skeletons. Jisoo Yun throws a skeleton towards the boss and Seongwu creates 2 more bone spears with that skeleton, and they pierce the boss slime. The boss slime tries to kill Seongwu, but an orc skeleton gets caught in his place, and Han-ho pulls him back with him. Slime Monster made a big mistake. The bag orc skeleton was carrying had a lot of bones. Seongwu uses his skills to make a lot of bone spears, which pierce the boss, and his minions start cutting the slime into pieces so it cannot regenerate. Righty delivers the last attack on the boss. They receive 2,255 gold for defeating the boss slime. Slime's mucus is an extremely strong acid. Seongwu orders his minions to collect the mucus in empty bottles. Seongwu also received an Elder Slime's core. It's covered with a thick shell. Its interior is composed of a concentrated strong acid, which is capable of dissolving anything. It is mostly useful for dissolving or fusing objects together. Meanwhile, Han-ho tells Seongwu to check a new comment. It looks like the situation in the post have become more chaotic. Anyone who arrives at the H apartments gets his comments deleted. Han-ho is an idiot, but he also knows that something fishy is happening in H apartments, and Seongwu has an idea of what is really occurring there. During the night, some thugs are discussing about their sinister plan to kill other players. If they kill a normal human, they receive 500 gold, and if they kill a player, they receive 1,000 times the gold according to the level of the player. Inside the car, a bulky thug inquires about the identity of their real boss from his bald boss. The bald guy is scared and he tells his comrade that the serial killer Professor Red is their boss. Professor Red spared his life because he wanted Bald Thug to work for him, and the Bald Thug can feel something changing inside him. Meanwhile, back in the slime dungeon, Seongwu asks Han-ho if he can kill a person, because from now on, things are about to get more chaotic. Bald Thug remembers his past where he completely turned into a minion of a vampire lord after being bitten by him. He was a low-rank vampire. He killed and drank the blood of his own henchmen. Professor Red was quite happy after witnessing it. In the present, a henchman of the bald vampire knocks on the car's door. His henchman reports that they just got a confirmation that their new prey has arrived. According to the comments, there are 3 of them and they are waiting in the park. They start heading towards Seongwoo's party on their car. Bald Vampire tells his lackey that it's their 17th prey. The H apartment is quite big and complex. That's why it's easy to lure people there. The apartment residents stay quiet, saying it's none of their business, but once they run out of prey, they will target the apartment residents. They spot 3 targets and the Bald Vampire orders his lackey to run them over. Those 3 targets were actually disguised bone skeletons. Seongwu turns them into bone spear weapons, which pierce the car. Seongwu punches through the window and drags the Bald Vampire outside. Bald Vampire tries to imitate Seongwu and Seongwu kicks his chin. Seongwu asks him about the number of people they got upstairs. Bald Vampire turns into a complete vampire and tries to kill Seongwu, but Riley chops off one of his hands. Bald Vampire's lackey becomes scared after watching him. Seongwu asks his lackey about their number and he tells Seongwu there are 8 people upstairs. He was about to reveal more information, but Bald Vampire beheads him. Han-ho and Jisoo becomes disgusted after watching Bald Vampire kill his own ally. Bald Vampire's wrist bones are morphing into a pointed blade. He starts drinking blood from the head of his lackey. It turns out he got healed after drinking blood, and his stats have also increased. He was originally a 3-star ninja, but he became a low-rank vampire after Professor Red bit his neck. Once someone becomes a vampire, they are stuck at level 1, but that's not much of a hindrance because if they kill humans instead of monsters, they can absorb their stats by drinking their blood. Bald Vampire activates Berserk Mode, which increases all of his stats temporarily by 20%, but there is a big penalty of Berserk Mode which occurs after exiting Berserk Mode. It reduces their stats by 50% for 10 hours. Seongwu thinks that this vampire class is even more gruesome than his Necromancer class. Seongwu tells Han-ho and Jisoo to get behind him. He also orders his minions to attack the vampire, but he is quite fast, and he easily manages to dodge the attacks of the skeletons. He goes directly for Seongwu, but Seongwu blocks his attack with his shield. Jisoo Yun attacks him with her swords, but Bald Vampire easily dodges it, and they both start exchanging blows. Hanho throws daggers, but the vampire blocks them. Hanho keeps throwing daggers like a Gatling gun, which pisses off the vampire. He dashes towards Hanho, but Righty successfully parries his attack. He tries to slash the neck of the vampire, but vampire somehow dodges it. Seongwu comes from behind with his shield, but vampire destroys his shield with one slash attack. They both start exchanging blows, and the vampire is quite confident at this point. Ji-soo-yun tries to sneak attack him from behind with her burning sword, but the vampire is too fast and manages to dodge it. Righty was at the back of Jisoo and he jumps at vampire and manages to cut off his arm again. Seongwu orders his minion to attack the vampire, but his backup arrives in time. Thugs also become afraid after watching their boss's true form. His arm is getting regenerated, but Jisoo chops it off again. An orc skeleton tries to attack vampire, but he smashes him, and it turns out that orc skeleton was just a mere bait. Seongwu stabs his sword through his orc skeleton, which pierces the vampire's neck, and Seongwu finally chops his head off. Seongwu's party receives 1,000 gold for killing a level 1 player. Now, Seongwu knows exactly what was going on in H apartments. They were killing off other players for their gold and experience. Vampire's lackey gets surrounded by Seongwu's minions. Seongwu tells them to drop their weapons or he will kill them all. Thugs are afraid and they drop their weapons. They tell Seongwu about their true boss, but they also have limited information about him, and this was their first time watching their bald boss's true form. Seongwu realizes that the real boss has a 5 or more stars class because he can make other players into monsters. Seongwu asks the thugs about how many people they killed, and one of them tells them that they killed 21 or 22 people. Seongwu becomes enraged and orders his minions to kill all of them. They receive a total of 5,000 gold for killing all of them. Even Hanho and Ji-soo-yun become surprised after watching it, but Seongwu tells them that if they don't kill them now, they will start killing other innocent people. Hanho and Ji-soo-yun agree with Seongwu's decision. The next morning, someone posted that the people in apartment H were murderers and he barely escaped with his life. He was observing them from afar, but some other player finished them all off with his skeletons. Sergeant Kim becomes happy after reading it because he knows it must be Seongwu's party. Sergeant Kim posts some appreciation comments about Seongwu's party, and other students Seongwu helped back in the school are also posting good stuff about Seongwu, but no one knows his real name. In a depleted building, we see a glimpse of a mysterious figure who became happy after reading the comments, and they head off to an unknown location. Hanho tells Seongwu about a new post by a guy named Prosecutor. Someone posted that if people want to post something and they lack gold, they can just comment down below this post and help each other. He also provides some other minor information like how they can use this setting to change their nicknames. Most of the comments are about missing family members or useful information about synergies and wolves, which can jump 2 stories high. Seongwu's party arrives at Hanho's place and Hanho hopes his parents are still alive. Inside the building, there are quite a few dead orcs laying around on the stairs. Hanho prays for his parents' safety. After arriving at the room 202, Hanho desperately calls for his mom, and his parents rush out to see their child. It turns out his parents didn't pick a class card. Hanho is skeptical about his dad because he used to play card games all the time. Seongwu asks them about how they managed to stop those orcs. It turns out those orcs ran away after Hanho's father used pesticide spray on them. Everyone becomes shocked after hearing it. After they finish eating food, Hanho's mom thanks Jisoo and Seongwu for bringing their good-for-nothing son back to them. She also prepared some green tea for them. Hanho tells his mom about the awesome things he did to help his party, but she asks her son to shut up. After watching the lights from outside, some biker guys give off a grin smile. Meanwhile, inside the building, Jisoo is happy after taking a shower, and she thanks Hanho's mom for the pajamas. Seongwu and Hanho are taking shower along with Righty. Seongwu is happy to see Hanho's parents alive. He thinks that Hanho's father was quite lucky. He used pesticides against orcs, whose biggest strength is their sense of smell. Seongwu knows that Hanho must be overjoyed because he found his parents. Seongwu tells them that this is not a safe place to stay. The orcs which came before were just mere scouts, and it will turn into an all-out war if their main group arrives. But the main problem is that they don't know where to go next. It turns out Prosecutor again made a post. He tells the survivors that one of his friend is a 3-stars pioneer, and they created a small safe area inside Yeongdongpo station, where monsters can't enter, but the survivors need to provide gold or rations because pioneer skills take up a lot of resources to maintain. Seongwu is skeptical, but he knows what the prosecutor guy said can be true because the world has become a game. But they can't take Hanho's parents there because it is quite far away from their location. There is another comment by a guy called Section Chief Gu, who claims to be a 3-star pioneer, but he can only let in others if they give him rent. This guy is in Hwasong Fortress, which is 20 minutes away if they travel on a bus, and Seongwoo's party decides to head over there. The next morning, they start heading over to Hwasong Fortress along with Hanho's parents. Hanho's dad informs them about some delinquent who steals resources from other survivors. Seongwoo is a bit worried about these third-rate delinquents running amok. Soon, some delinquents arrive at their location on their bikes. A cocky delinquent girl addresses them as Jeezers and tells them to hand over their resources and gold, which pisses off Seongwoo. Seongwoo is about to order his minions, which are hiding in a building behind him, but suddenly they hear a sound, and all delinquents make a run for it. Soon, a pack of giant wolves arrives, but they are not attacking Seongwoo's party mindlessly. Seongwoo's party is at a disadvantage, so he tells his companions to slowly back away. After getting inside the building, one of the wolves tries to attack them, but Seongwoo uses his brain and throws a slime-filled bottle at the face of the wolf. His minions start throwing bone spears at him and the wolf dies. The second wolf tries to run away, but one of Seongwoo's minions tries to stop him. Wolf bites the minions, but it was a trap, and Wolf's mouth becomes filled with slime liquid. Riley leaps towards the exhausted wolf and finishes him off with one strike. The last wolf becomes afraid after watching it, but he soon gets pierced by spears. They receive 240 gold per wolf they slayed, and Seongwoo's level has risen up to 7. Ji Soo-yoon is a bit worried because she thinks they are becoming a burden to Seongwoo, but he tells her that they are quite helpful, but he is skeptical about Hanho's growth. Seongwoo tries to resurrect the wolf, but his level is quite low for that. The next morning, a helicopter is being followed by some wyverns. Suddenly, a field boss wyvern alpha male appears in front of them, and it easily destroys the helicopter. Seongwoo and his friends were watching it from a window, and they think even army is no longer a match for these monsters. Seongwoo's party can't go forward because some wyverns are sleeping ahead on rooftops. Seongwoo suggests to take a break for now, and they will leave once the wyverns go away. Night falls and the wyverns are still sleeping on the rooftops. Suddenly, a message pops up which tells them that they should pick a class card, which will help them survive in this apocalypse. Hanho tells his parents to choose a card with the most stars this time. A 15-second countdown starts and cards appear in front of them. These same cards are also presented to other survivors too, and they disappear after someone chooses them. Hanho is trying his best to find a card with the most stars. But Seongwoo thinks simply picking a card with the most stars is not a good option, and he should pick a card which combines well with his Necromancer class. Seongwoo picks a 3-star Dark Mage Link card, and it combines with his Necromancer class to grant him new skills. He got a skill called Death Aura, which buffs his minions and debuffs his enemies. Hanho was trying to pick a 4-star card, but someone else picked it before him, and he accidentally tapped on a 1-star Priest card. He got a new skill which shields him from his enemies for 10 seconds after he kills an enemy. Hanho's father picked a 3-star Pioneer card and he can now make safety zones. Seongwoo is quite happy because now they don't need to go to Hwasong Fortress anymore.